Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Live from Harlem in New York, it's the Ramble with me. I'm Alex Bennett. We go until midnight tonight. We got a real special interview for you right now. Here is a guy who really doesn't want to be interviewed, right?
Right.
And what is the reason for that, Don Giller?
I could say self-loathing, but that's not really it.
Is it self-loathing?
No, it's not.
Because
it's just,
you know what's interesting about you is because you've called the Monday show, for example, and you call and you're very funny, and you're able to talk beautifully about stuff, and yet when it comes to a one-on-one, you just don't think you're worthy, do you?
No. One-on-one is I actually prefer one-on-one, but not as a formal thing as this. It just seems.
How is this formal?
Well, it's one-on-one on Zoom, and this is going out to all 20 viewers. And,
all 20 viewers that I have, yeah. You're wising up to the sham I've been pulling off all these years. You know.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah. But it's strange. I mean, and you're very funny. You know, I wrote him and I said, okay, well, let's then do it on Thursday at 1:00. And your reply was, I'll shower. Now, you know, I mean, you're a very funny guy. Or do you think, or don't you think?
And silly, as you noted in the park. That was well taken.
You are silly.
I am silly.
You like being silly, don't you?
I like being alone.
Now let's establish for people your credentials, okay? I notice in back of you a lot of boxes of tapes and things like that, right?
Yeah. Over there.
Yeah.
Are late show DVDs is what they are.
Late show DVDs, but they're DVDs that you made up, right? Or that somebody made a copy of.
Yeah, they're I'm not sure how. Yes, copies that someone else made and I duplicated.
Right, and it's the Late Show.
Right, and then below there, let me see if I can pull.
Well, that's Late
correctly.
Night, right? And Late Show.
Yeah. The boxed stuff, which I'm trying to point.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
There.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
That's all late night stuff that I recorded.
Okay, now let's start in the beginning here, because you, for I guess how many years have you been posting Letterman shows?
Oops, hang on. Something. Okay, I thought something just fell. On a focused basis since I suppose the fall of 15. I would say.
The fall of 15.
There are some isolated things as far back as 08, 09, but those were just little things here and there.
When I went to YouTube and I saw a Letterman show, it said Don Giller. And I asked Shecky while he was still alive, I said, who's Don Giller? He says, oh, he's a fanboy who really does a good job of archiving the Letterman shows. Do you have every Letterman show?
Yes.
Every?
I'm missing 4 morning shows, and they may not exist anymore.
Really? Because I got a disc of the morning shows from Shecky, but I don't know if it was all. How many episodes were there?
90.
90, because it lasted 3 months or how long?
Yeah, June to October.
But let's say for late night and late show, months. You have every show.
Yeah, it took years to acquire the late night footage, but the end of 17, I finally got the 2 remaining complete shows that I was missing.
Now, why did you choose to do Letterman as opposed to Leno or Ferguson or anybody else? I mean, what was it about Letterman that obsessed you?
Well, one, I have taped all of Ferguson, but I haven't. I've digitized little of it, and I'm no longer. I don't think I'm able to put anything up anymore. So, but yeah, no, I was a fan of Ferguson. I liked the show a lot.
Yeah,
I thought he approached the irreverence that I found so refreshing to see and hear.
Yeah. One of the other questions that I asked Shecky about you was, why doesn't Letterman stop him? And his answer was, it's too much trouble. You know, nobody's interested. Nobody seems to be interested.
Well, I think that was before the Letterman channel launched, where they became official, and to my gratitude, they've kept my channel intact when they have every legal right to shut it down. Yeah. But they haven't, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I can't say a bad word about that.
Right.
Right.
But have they stopped you from putting anything else up?
Yeah, since the launch, I'm no longer able to put anything up without their permission.
Without their permission.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have their permission to put anything up?
I haven't asked them. I've put up a couple things that really didn't violate their ask. Mm-hmm. For like the little 1 minute Shecky thing tribute that I put up.
Yeah.
I made sure to include only screen captures and music that was unrelated to the show, but right. I thought very much relatable to Rick.
Right.
And I asked, I sent them the footage and asked if it was okay, and I said, yeah, that's okay. So so I'll ask them stuff, and
now did they ever complain to YouTube about your stuff?
Not that I'm aware.
Yeah.
What happened there in the past? There have been a couple uploads that they would call me. Mm-hmm. The Worldwide Pants people would call me and ask if I would take it down, and that's a far cry from them instructing YouTube to take it down. Mm-hmm. It's a far more, I was going to say polite. That's not the right word. A gracious way of operating. Yeah. And of course, I'd adhere to anything they ask. If they want me to take it down, I take it down.
Well, let me also ask you that you had like a ton of stuff up there before they ever started their Letterman channel, right?
Right.
Is that stuff still up, or did you have to take it down? Oh, so it's still there.
It's
so
still
people go.
Yeah, everything is still up. There are a couple of little minor clips here and there that for lots of legal reasons they asked me to. Actually, they just asked me to. It was unlisted, and they asked me to put the private. I said, I'll let me just get rid of it. I'll delete it. And,
right.
But that was so minor, because it was unlisted. It got me.
So if people want your stuff, and a lot of times it's whole episodes.
Not many. Very few whole episodes. It's the compilations that people seem to like.
Yeah, yeah. Where like this is a compilation of everything that was Shecky, as an example.
Yeah, which I'm going to do for your pop-ups at some point once I get it together.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to put that up. One, I'm not going to put it up without your okay.
Yeah.
And two, I'm only preparing it for you, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
But I would never put that up without.
You're more than welcome to. Okay, I give you my permission.
Okay, but I'll let you see it first. Once I do it.
I'll give you written permission if you want it. I will get my lawyers to send you a letter.
Can you email me some blood? That would be nice.
Yeah, but it's that you kept this whole idea of the Letterman shows alive on YouTube for years, and they should be grateful to you because now they started their own Letterman channel, and it made people want that material.
I think they are. And I have nothing but a great relationship with them. I can't complain about anything at least publicly,
Mhm.
as to how they've treated me.
You won't get him in trouble now because he's dead. But did Shecky help you at all?
Um, you're opening up a can of worms
Oh,
that just today I got
wait a minute, you just froze up on
permission
me.
to, because
Hold on a second, you're just freezing up here.
I
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're freezing up. Hold on. Wait a minute.
asked if
Let me just pause this for a second, and we'll start up again. Anyway, what were you saying when I asked you the question about Shecky? You said that's opening up a can of worms. So.
yeah, but I got the okay today to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's I guess I don't know if it's a long, I don't know how coherent I can be talking about this, but yes, Rick was an indispensable source for filling many voids in my late night collection.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because he kept a lot of stuff. I mean, copies, not,
Yeah. In it doesn't matter. In November of 16,
Mhm.
he loaned me. It was the first time he loaned me this stuff,
Mhm.
and he said that I'm sort of the Late Show's backup, and I decided that you, referring to me, is his backup.
Yeah.
And that's why he agreed to loan me all this stuff.
Yeah.
So should anything happen to his collection, at least I had nearly all of it.
Shecky was very good at collecting that stuff. Do you know what? He had a whole copy of it, and he sent. Somewhere I have a copy of it. I don't know where it is, but every appearance of Darlene Love singing "Baby Please Come Home."
Christmas movie, yeah. I put up a compilation of that a couple years ago.
Yeah. And maybe he took your compilation and gave it to me. I don't know. But
I wish we could ask him.
It's interesting that it's people like you that keep things alive, and that's important. I mean, when I first met Shecky, as an example, I met him and he took me down to 8th Avenue. I think it was 8th Avenue, maybe it was 9th Avenue, and they would all meet in front of this film company,
Right.
and they would, out of the back trunks of their cars, trade films with each other, film cans with each other. Okay, this was before videotape was big. Film cans. And I always, and I got it, and when I got to know Shecky more, I got a greater appreciation of the people who had these films, because it was illegal to have them. Okay, if you had a copy of, I don't know, Casablanca, let's say, on film, it was an illegal copy because it was either copied or whatever. The only way you could get it usually was by renting it from the film company, and at the same time, the film companies didn't care about their stuff, and it went into disrepair. And these people were saving them. I mean, they literally saved a whole history of film out of the trunks of their cars.
Right.
And so I always considered the archivists, people like yourself, the hobbyist archivist, let's say, to be indispensable. I mean, I remember that NBC had a copy of Humphrey Bogart and his television version of Petrified Forest. The only problem was they had no audio for it. And I talked to Shecky. I said, "You hear about this? They had Petrified Forest, but they couldn't show it because they didn't have the audio." He says, "I got a copy downstairs with the audio." Okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And if it hadn't been for people like Shecky, we wouldn't have that historically. What now? Now I don't have audio on you.
I'm just doing a bit.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah.
You know what happened, and it wasn't when Late Show ended in May 15.
Yeah.
They had a website that CBS had co-owned,
Mm-hmm.
and that included hundreds, maybe 1,000 Late Show clips. no late night clips because it wasn't their property.
Right.
And after the show ended, CBS had rescinded their rights. It was now all Worldwide Pants's property.
Mm-hmm.
But what CBS did, it took a few weeks, but they took down all of the clips while they still had the right to. They essentially shut down the site.
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to me that all the stuff that was then accessible is no longer.
Yeah, right.
And that's not right. And then within a few weeks, someone at the show who's still working there was trying to find. There was a special on Late Show that Ray Romano had hosted a week or so before the last Late Show.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman, she was responsible for paying the people who had appeared in these clips. Mm-hmm. And there were a number of clips that she couldn't find, so she reached out to me to help find her those clips. And the only reason she reached out to me is because there's no one else working at the show. And that's what it dawned on me that, I could maybe be useful in other ways in filling a void that had suddenly cropped up once the show had ended and all the clips had disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started to think about. I didn't do it for a few months, to think about digitizing all the late nights. And while I was doing it, it occurred to me, I need to share this stuff. I can't see this for my own enjoyment. This sounds so self-serving, and I don't mean it to be. But
you're very interesting in that. For instance, anything you put up on YouTube, if you have enough viewers, you can monetize. Okay.
Yeah, but I can't.
You've chosen not to monetize any of the Letterman stuff
because it wasn't my content, and it was one of the smartest things I've ever done, because had I monetized it, the people in charge, both NBC and Worldwide Pants, would have frowned upon that, and they would have had every right to, because it's not mine to make money off of.
Yeah, but there
content.
are people on YouTube running copyrighted material and monetizing it.
That's their issue.
I don't know how they get away with it. I have no idea how they get away with it.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you were getting away with what you were doing all those years, but
perhaps because I was not profiting off of it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, it certainly made you much more honest and much more in the area of fan hobbyists, could we call it?
Yeah, yeah, and that's all I was. I don't pretend to be anything other than that. I think I'm an okay amateur when it comes to editing this stuff, because I don't have the tools.
Actually, I got to tell you, you're an expert. I mean, some of those edits, those compilations you did were brilliant.
Thanks, but I don't have the tools or the know-how to do the stuff that the Letterman channel is capable of doing.
Well, the Letterman channel also has the masters available to them.
Yeah, and their quality is far superior.
Now, my question is, because you've dealt somewhat with the Letterman people on this, how did they get a hold of the late night stuff? Because that's owned by NBC, and at least until a few years ago, they were not happy with each other.
I don't have the inside story, and if I did, I'm not sure if I could share it. All I know is that they've licensed. NBC has licensed late night to Letterman. What that entails, I don't know. Yeah. I just don't know.
Now here's my big $64,000 question.
I accept PayPal.
No. Which, in your opinion, after seeing almost every show Letterman ever did, what was better, late night or late show?
I think about Beethoven, his early works and his later works. They each have their particular appeal. You see the genesis of ideas and a genesis of development of his composing style, or early Beatles and late Beatles.
Yeah.
There's so yes, I particularly prefer the late nights. Not only, but perhaps because I would stay up watching and just marveling that this stuff is on the air. And Barbara Gaines had this great quote when she was profiled on the Letterman channel a few weeks ago. She said, on late night, we were kids playing TV, and once we got to CBS, we were grown-ups. We had to play by grown-up rules.
Good way to describe it.
Yeah,
good way to describe it. No question about it.
It's a different animal. Late show.
Yeah.
There are elements of late show that I think retained the late night
feeling.
Feeling odor. And I don't think that ever went away. But I hate to pontificate, and so I'm not. I gravitate toward the NBC shows.
Okay, now let me ask you an even more technical question. Who is better, pre-heart problem Dave or post-heart problem Dave? Because I notice a change.
Well, yeah, I mean he
didn't go out as much.
He slowed down. He stopped going to rehearsals. He took maybe that meant taking care of himself or finding other priorities in his life other than the show. I don't know. He and I have never chatted, and I'm uncomfortable again pontificating. I just yes, I agree with you that there was a discernible difference.
Yeah. So you have like almost 3 flavors of Dave in his history.
Well, late night I always thought it had a few errors of its own, ERA errors. And as did late, so it's not just 3. It's maybe, I always kind of thought that the head writer helped shape the sensibilities of the show. At least on late night. I'm not sure about late show. And so I tend to separate the errors by who was head writing the show.
Yeah, because you had 2 basic head writers on late night, and that was Merrill.
Right, Merrill, Jim Downey for a year, and then Steve O'Donnell, and then Rob Burnett.
Oh, and Gerard Mulligan did the monologues, right?
He was also the segment producer. I'm not. Yeah, he did do the monologues, but he also segment produced the show for much of the first half, or not the first half. The first 3 years he was doing double duty.
I just felt that late night was. You're right. I think she described it best. A bunch of kids playing television.
Yeah, and that's they felt no one was watching, and they didn't understand, or not understand. They didn't abide by rules that they were never dictated.
Well, that's what made it so refreshing.
Yeah,
that's what made it so interesting. Just amazing. I mean, that show went through so many different changes, and I know Dave hates the book The Late Shift by what was his name?
Bill Carter.
Bill Carter. But that book really is fascinating. And so was the made-for-TV movie that they made out of it, on HBO. That whole history is fascinating. The Letterman thing, the fact that Letterman to the end didn't really want to go over to CBS. He wanted the Tonight Show.
Right.
And it was Carson who finally told him, hey, it's not the Tonight Show anymore. It's been Leno's show for a year, and he spoiled it. Go over to CBS and have a good time.
That's all kind of, it's fascinating history. What mattered more to me was what we were watching as it was broadcast, and how these outside events would affect what we were watching. Is Dave pissed because of what's going on, behind the scenes, and how is that reflected in his behavior on the show? But it was the behavior on the show that was more interesting to me than what we think was going on behind the scenes.
I've said this in the past about my own career, which certainly is nowhere near what Dave's became. But that, and I argued this with radio stations, I said, you've got to have a good mood in this radio station, because people walk through that hallway into the studio, and then when they go on the air, whatever they felt going through that office plays itself on the air in some way, shape, or form that you may not notice. But if it's raining outside, you do a show differently than if it's sunny outside. It's just inherent. And the same is true with Letterman. I mean, whatever was going on behind the scenes manifested itself on the air.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that to me was the fascinating part. How is all that outside stuff reflected on the show?
I usually just these interviews usually only go 25 minutes, and we've hit 25 minutes, and there's still
goodbye. Thanks.
A ton of questions that I want to ask you. But something, we can do that another time. I hope now that you're used to it, Don Giller.
Okay. I mean, we'll stop if you want.
Why would I want to talk to you? Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm thinking.
Little old you. Why would I want to talk to you? Because listen, all I got out of you. It's interesting.
Are you projecting, or that's what you're saying about yourself?
I mean, I say that about myself too.
Okay.
I've been in this business how many years? Since I was 14 years old, right? And I'm now 83, and I still don't know why anybody would want to listen to me. And my wife agrees, by the way. Anyway, let's do this again, okay, Don?
Okay. No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Stay where you are, because I want to talk to you after we're through here.
All right.
That's Don Giller, ladies and gentlemen. Look for his name on YouTube.
Thanks, everybody.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Yeah. That's Don Giller. Interesting guy, right? Right? Funny guy, right? Right. Absolutely. I'm saying that, and not to be nice, although he might be listening right now, because he had so many reservations about doing an interview. And I told, to begin with, I never do interviews. That's a great misnomer, and I think anybody who does an interview is wasting your time. I hold conversations, and I always have, and that's what it really is. It's a conversation, and I think that makes it kind of easy. I think, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, for the other person. And tomorrow night, Lori Thompson will be here in this first opening spot. She is very popular on this program. Our combination together is still magic. And we did a couple of them today, and we'll be playing them for you. And I've even talked to her about creating a new show here in which it's she and I, and maybe some guest brought in, because we just work so well together, But anyway, let's get to the people who are waiting online here. Oh, well, we just lost one. We lost Jeff. Okay, well, that happens. He calls back, okay? We have... let's see here. We have Kevin, and we have Charlie Wallace, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie, I guess you don't have softball tonight?
Rained out again.
What?
We rained out again.
It rained out? What's the temperature out there?
Temperature's 87, so it's not too bad.
Oh, really? Because when on TV tonight, they were saying it was like 117 or something like that in Texas.
But that was before that front came through last night.
No, that was today. They were saying that.
Well, let's see. Maybe it was hotter earlier. I'd stayed in the house.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Jeff, turn it off. Turn off your browser.
Yes,
Get rid of your browser.
Rained out again.
Rained out? What's the temperature?
See, now,
87, so it's not too bad.
Oh, really? Because when on TV
just kill it. Just get rid of your browser. Just he got rid of the whole thing, so he'll be back. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, how's softball going for you this year?
It's been hectic. we have all new people. We're running the softball program for the city of Austin, and it's just been a real nightmare.
Really? Okay. Well, you're in charge of paying everybody and everything and doing that kind of
Yes,
stuff?
I pay all the umpires for all the games that they do.
How much do they get paid per game?
$25 a game.
Well, maybe I'll move down to Austin then. And
Usually 4 games a night.
I wouldn't. And they work as coaches or referees?
No, referees. We're umpires.
Umpires. Okay.
Yeah, we call balls and strikes and outs.
Sure, I'm going to get a job with you being an umpire when I'm calling referees. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, and the weather is still warm down there, but not disgusting.
I said only got up to 94 today, so I can't imagine the heat index got much above 110.
Yeah, I thought I saw 94 in that part. It was cooler.
Oh.
Actually, it gets oddly enough, it was cooler in Houston and places like that than up in Dallas. Dallas seems to get the brunt of it, and
because Houston's cooled by the Gulf.
And up where Jack is, it's pathetic. I mean, I saw a temperature of over 110 or something up there in his neck of the woods.
Stay up there. Stay up there. I don't want that here.
Yeah, you don't want it coming down. You okay now, Jeff? Jeff, are you okay now?
I think so.
Okay. You didn't think so.
I'm trying.
Anyway, yeah. So, anyway. Today is, today they finally announced that the people probably died last Sunday, which is kind of ridiculous because it seems as though the United States Coast Guard, somebody like that, heard an explosion on their sonar, or an implosion. Implosion, explosion, they both sound the same. And then they didn't report it because everybody was so all juiced up to go out and find it that they didn't want to give a false report. So they knew days ago. And then I just saw an interview with James Cameron. I finally said, why hasn't he been doing interviews? And I guess because he was waiting to see how it resolved itself. And tonight he was on with Anderson Cooper. And he basically said that thing was a piece of crap. That they were making it out of a composite of resin and I can't remember what the outside was. It was some kind of
Aluminum and polymer.
No, wasn't that. It was something else. But anyway, he said that the problem with it is that sounds like a good idea. It's lightweight and it's strong. But will you put it in the water enough times and send it down to that depth, and it starts getting fatigue real fast. And eventually, it's an accident waiting to happen. Okay? And he said that's what it was all about.
Yeah.
They were just using this polymer or something. I can't remember what it was. That it should have never been. He says his, which has gone down, believe it or not, further down than the Titanic, he built out of pure steel. I mean, he said, I would not build it out of any kind of material which would fatigue. He said, steel will not fatigue. He said, and that was the problem with it. He said, the only good news about it is that if that thing imploded, they were dead before they knew it.
Yeah.
So it was better than sitting. It was better than the other scenario we had where they were running out of oxygen. They were running out of food, and they were probably up to their knees in crap because by then a lot of people would use that bathroom.
I've got a theory too.
You got a theory?
Yeah, because I used to work with cylinders every day for 18 years. And those 4 big white cylinders on each side of those things?
Yeah.
Those are what I used to fill those. Well, I didn't fill them, but we used to deal with those. And those were called what we called tonners. And they were they were typically filled with like CF4, HCl.
Mm-hmm.
They fill them with various gases because they were large and they were less changeouts for smaller cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
I think they use those for air. I don't know but I think they were also used for ballasts. But cylinders, even small, low pressure 2250 psi cylinders, have to be hydro tested periodically. And most, inert
What were they
gases,
using those cylinders for?
I'm not sure, but they weren't labeled. So I was thinking that they were just using them as ballasts. They may have had air in them and they let out air to go down and that kind of thing. They could have been using them as oxygen storage. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that vessel that they were in was never certified or tested.
Right.
And, they went down at least 30 times.
Yep.
And a typical cylinder like that has to be hydro tested every so often for pressure. So when they hydro test a gas cylinder, it has to be done, according to the National Highway Transportation Association. You have to test a inert gas every 10 years and a flammable gas or poison gas every 5 years for strength, because when you fill it with pressure and then it's released with pressure and then it's filled and it's released, the walls expand and contract. And I'm sure Charlie knows all about this.
That's what I heard Cameron
Expand
talking
and
about.
contract, and they expand and contract, and they expand and contract.
Right.
And over time, they stress, and if they don't do a hydro test on them to make sure that they can take that strength and it's measured, the same thing is happening with that vessel they were sitting in. That PSI, the tension on that vessel going down that low is 5,000 PSI per square inch. 5,000
They say
pounds
it's
per
the
square
weight
inch.
of the Empire State Building sitting on top of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5,000 pounds per square inch. So the pressure on that thing going down and then coming up and then going down and coming up and going down at least 30 times, right? And it's a carbon fiber vessel with some titanium in it, I think it was. I mean, we used to use nickel cylinders that are solid nickel, and they had to get tested every 5 years. When they had tungsten hexafluoride in them, highly corrosive gas inside them, and they had to get tested all the time too for stress. And my uneducated theory was that it just got too stressed, and they finally just said, I ain't gonna do this no more.
Cameron's theory, and Cameron's somebody you really got to listen to. He's done over 30 dives with his unit.
Well, that unit had gone down over 30 times too.
Yeah, but he said that what did it was what fiber. I don't know what they used.
It's carbon fiber. That's what I was talking
fiber.
about.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about those tanks.
No.
Oh,
the
yeah.
vessel that they were sitting in was
Well,
carbon fiber.
he just said that it had gone up and down so many times that it was bound to start having stresses and breaks in it.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And typically, in a certain amount of times, you should test that thing to see if it's taken any stress, which is a hydro test. They fill it with water, they pressurize it, fill it with water, see if it's moving or not. They measure the wall movement, and then they release it. And then they fill it and they release it. They measure the wall movement to see if it's stressed. And they never did that because it was an unclassified and uncertified vehicle.
Yep.
And that's how they were bypassing the safety part of it.
Well, I'm hoping the good that comes out of this is that we've created something called the Titanic curse, and that nobody does this anymore. I mean, this whole idea of tourism to the Titanic is tasteless.
Well, they need to do it safely. They can't be allowed to bypass it. You have experimental aircraft, and we have experimental. I mean, it's the same thing that Musk is doing, except he's going up. These guys were going down.
Well, Musk is going up. Yeah, but
Musk, it's the same thing though. It's an experimental aircraft, and they can get around stuff too.
Well, those Musk has had to pass a lot of aviation.
Yeah, but there are certain
regulations.
things that he gets around because it's an experimental aircraft.
Well, I mean, It is, obviously. I mean,
and so is what they were doing.
Yeah. Now,
so it's the same thing with an airplane. I mean, I go down here to the local airport, and they've got experimental aircrafts, and they label them right across. My daughter rode in one, and it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. John Denver
they're labeled as experimental aircraft, and they're allowed to do certain things because they're not tested, but they're going up there to try it out to make sure it works.
Well, all I know is if I were able to get a free ride on that Ocean, whatever the name of the company was,
Ocean Gate, yeah.
Ocean Gate, which is now a new term for it because, like Watergate, it's Ocean Gate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I would not have even gotten in that damn thing. I mean, it looks cheap.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It looks like they built themselves basically a tank, and then they shoved people in it with 2 TV sets that they got from Best Buy and a remote controller they got from Sony. Well, I don't know if that was a Sony controller.
And put a couple computer laptops in it.
Yeah, and that was it.
Go.
I mean, that should be a little more scientific than that. And it was a cheap shot operation. We're gonna do this. We're gonna charge people $250,000 to go down and see the Titanic. And most of the time when they went down there, they couldn't find the Titanic. They didn't even have GPS or any kind of guidance systems inside the sub to be able to find it. Yes, Charlie.
Well, people always keep saying about how smart these rich people are. Well, what they did there wasn't very smart.
Rich and dumb.
Yeah.
No, and David Pogue, you know who David Pogue is, don't you? He's a tech writer, and then he's also on CBS Sunday Morning, and he kind of reports on stuff. He went down in that thing, but they were going to go down to do the Titanic, and then something went wrong with it, and they came back up, and he never got to go down. And
he saved his life.
That'd have been a sign.
Yeah, and so they took everybody over to the coast of the United States and then took a dive there so they could see what it was like. And I don't think Pogue even went on that one. But he said in interviews that when he's talking to people that he didn't feel very comfortable about that thing. I mean, you just want something a little more scientific than, okay, you all sit down here and don't try to stand up. I mean, even in Cameron's, I think they have a seat they're in. It was.
I think at one time he was in prone position when he was going down. I remember something about that. That his vessel, he had to be in the prone position.
Prone to what?
Yeah, prone to.
Yeah. I mean, it
was. It was a. You got to realize that these guys are quote unquote test pilots, but the fact that they were bringing people down there is another story. I mean, these guys were adventurers and basically test pilots.
Yeah.
But, that's how you learn. People like that have to do it. But, bringing people down there with them is another story.
I wonder how many other companies there are doing this.
I don't know, but they're sure going to get looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, believe me, there's no submersible is going down any longer without being fully inspected.
Yeah.
By professionals who know what they're doing.
Everything's stopped right now.
Yeah. I think this is going to kill people wanting to go down there. Okay. I mean, if not, they're just damn stupid. I would ride with Cameron. Only his vessel only takes 2 people. He and an engineer. Well,
at one point he was only sending down a camera, wasn't he?
Initially, he was sending down a camera. Yeah. Then he started sending himself down with an engineer in this what is almost it's about, you could call it an enclosure for a human body. Is what it really is. But he scientifically he said he spent a fortune to make sure it was right and that it worked well.
It's a hell of a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and that he said it's made out of steel. Steel won't crack.
It will.
It will.
It can.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
You just got to build it right.
Well,
we had cylinders that normal cylinders, or I don't know how thick they were. I can't remember. They were 2,250 psi and able to handle about 3,500 on an overfill. But we also had cylinders that we sent to NASA for the spacecrafts that we filled with helium, but they were able to handle 5,000 psi. But those things were bloody heavy. They almost weighed, God, I can't remember. They're 500 or 600 pounds a piece. They were bloody heavy.
Yeah.
You could only roll one at a time, where normally we could roll 2 cylinders at a time easily.
So if you take
a cylinder, which is, the tall cylinders, they're about 150 pounds a piece. These other ones were like 300-400 pounds.
Yes.
Easily.
Yes, Al.
But they're real thick wall.
So the older diesel subs that we had in our fleet, when you get down to about 300 feet, it starts crushing the hull. And it doesn't cause catastrophic failure usually, but they weren't built like the nuclear subs. The pressure will stress the steel.
Yeah.
And you can put it you could measure across from point A to point B at sea level, and then when you get down to 300 or 400 feet, you'll lose a couple inches in those old.
Somebody showed a styrofoam cup it was the regular size of a styrofoam cup. I don't know where I saw this. I see this on the Cameron thing. No, I don't know. But anyway, they also had a styrofoam cup that had gone down to the Titanic and came back up. And it was that small. It had crushed that much. And that was just the air inside.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, I mean, I feel sorry for those people. On the other hand, one of the people who got killed was the guy who was running the company, and I don't feel sorry for him.
Oh.
The only thing that would have made this good is if Donald Trump took the dive with him. The world would have been happy.
Have you heard the latest thing about Zuckerberg and Elon Musk?
No.
Zuckerberg has challenged him to a boxing match.
Oh God!
And it looks like Elon Musk is going to accept. This is. How many here
want to take guns at 20 paces?
How many here would pay a pay-per-view price to watch that?
Okay. I think it'd be good if Trump got in there and then they put Arnold Schwarzenegger in his tag team.
That's going to be the opening. That's going to be the undercard.
Yeah, put Arnold in there too, and then they all get in there at once. Arnold will beat them all up.
Listen, I could probably beat up that pudgy orange Spectre. Anyway,
donkey will kick your ass.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a sad situation, but there was also a clusterfuck. I'm going to say that now because I'm trying not to get demonetized, since they've been very devil may care about demonetizing me. They don't demonetize the live show, which goes up as its own thing, but they are demonetizing the other version that I put up afterwards, and they're identical shows. So you go figure that, okay? So I'm just saying clusterfuck. The clusterfuck that went on, though, about this whole thing is almost as amazing a story that should be investigated as the actual sub itself. And that is the fact that everybody was making the wrong calls. You know, that by as early as Sunday, we had proof that that thing had imploded. Sunday, right? You know, hours after it went missing, because the Navy or the Coast Guard, I can't remember who, had a sonar in the water around that area. They can hear, by the way, according to, I think Cameron said it, they can hear almost everything that goes on in the ocean now. They have that many sonar units around.
Sonar buoys.
Huh?
They're called sonar buoys.
Yeah.
Sonar buoys.
And they said they heard what was an explosion, or it could be an implosion. They both sound the same. That happened on Sunday. They
think
were
they were wishful
they were remiss to report it as fact because they felt it would stop everybody from looking for it if in fact those people were still alive. Okay, so but everybody, like I think the United States refused to go in there and do anything initially, and I mean they took so much time that even if they hadn't imploded and that thing was running out of oxygen, they were never going to get to them in time because everybody was jumping over everybody else saying, oh no, we think we know where it is. And it was just, I think everybody was totally incompetent.
The good thing about all this news for 5 days is we haven't seen Donald Trump on TV.
I have.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah. Well, he being a little quiet lately because he just got the lawyers for the prosecution had to give him all the information they have. This is, you have to have that for a trial.
Part of discovery.
Part of discovery. And so they handed him all the tapes and the names of the people who testified against him and so on and so forth. And I think he's up to his ass right now reading that. That and alternately pooping his pants.
That was the explosion in the water they heard.
Yes.
With him taking a dump at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a big, so he just got those. So maybe he's been quiet because of that. Also,
I don't think his lawyers had to tell him to shut up on that one.
Well, I think after the what's his name, Brett Baer over at Fox. After that interview, I think his lawyers just said, "Donald, you got to listen to us. Shut the goddamn up." It's just not. This is not doing you very much good. Every time you go on television and start admitting to stuff you're denying in court, So, boy,
He listens.
Huh?
He doesn't care.
You don't think he cares? Well, he obviously pays lawyers, but doesn't
But
pay
he doesn't
lawyers
listen to them.
and doesn't listen to them. Doesn't listen because there's no lawyer worth his weight in whatever that hasn't told him probably a dozen times, do not go on television and talk about the case. You can go on and talk about how you want to be president and all you're going to do for the country and how your competitors are idiots and morons and jerks and everything else. But when it comes to this case, you've got to say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't talk about that.
On the advice of my attorneys.
On the advice of my attorneys. And though, what I find really stupid are all these news people who go, why hasn't Biden said anything about the Trump thing? And you morons, he doesn't say anything because he doesn't want to affect the outcome.
Wait a minute. He did. There was something in the news earlier today not Biden. Obama.
Well,
sorry.
Biden did what I consider the stupidest thing that any president could do.
No.
Calling Xi a dictator.
Oh yeah,
that was not smart. Not the day after you had Blinken over there, sucking hiney. See, YouTube, you can't do anything about that. Over there kissing his keister. It's amazing how I can clean it up if I have
That's
to.
right. No words.
Kissing his keister. And actually getting kind of a nice reaction from Xi and, get some positive discussions. And they talked about Biden coming over to pay a visit and so on and so forth. And then the next thing that he does is goes on the air and says, oh, Xi's a dictator. And then somebody today asked him, you said that Xi was a dictator. He said, yes, I did. He said, well, do you think they're going to drop any kind of meeting with you? And he said, oh, no, that's going to be on. Are you kidding me? Are you? Jeez almighty. Can't we find anybody but morons to be president of this country? Yeah, so I wonder if Blinken had a word with Biden about that. And there's no way to backtrack on it.
No.
He can't apologize. That would look
You could just
bad.
sit there and do what Trump does and say he never said it.
Yep. It was AI did it. Chat GPT.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the way you backtrack on this.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah. But, you know. So let's see here. What else is in the news? Not a hell of a lot. You know, my wife, of course, watches MSNBC all day long, and they keep repeating the same stories over and over and over and over. I said, "You're watching the show this hour?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "It's the same show that was on last hour. And it's, by the way, going to be the same show that's on next hour unless some news item breaks or unless, you know, Trump does another interview somewhere, and then you'll play that person's interview." You know, so but today seemed like a dull news day. So these people didn't seem to have much to talk about except the same old stuff. You know, same old stuff. But let me see here. So,
big heat wave in Texas.
You weren't here earlier?
Oh, sorry.
I mean, if anybody's going to mention it, it's going to be Charlie.
Oh, I missed the first 10 minutes. My bad.
Yeah.
Did you talk about the heat wave, Charlie?
Alex brought it up.
Yeah. Because I knew there was a heat wave down there.
He's living the heat wave.
Yeah. Now, let's look at the T-shirt tonight. I don't trip. I do random gravity checks. That's very good.
You got that from the Trump library, right?
Actually, you should have gotten it from the Biden library. Biden does more falling than Trump does.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Well, no, I know what it's like. I mean, I have trouble with my balance these days, you know, because of various drugs.
Try to do anything but only 4 toes.
So I sent Marjorie had a meeting with her neuropathy guy today, her neurologist. And so I said, well, you know, ask him, I'm thinking of changing urology people because, not urology, neurology people, because I said, it's, you know, this other guy kind of bothers me because he did this test on me and the test was this blood test. And then he panicked and sent me to this guy who did $5,000 worth of, everybody knows the story. I did ask that guy, though, what about this test my doctor took? And he said, oh, yeah, I saw it because he sent it to me. He says, it's nothing. And then he gave me $5,000 worth of blood tests. Okay. I think every corpuscle was examined in great. Well, anyway, and then I never heard from the doctor. Never heard from him. And then his nurse called me and said, you want to do a follow-up? And I said, to what? You know? And then she said, well, you know, I said, well, what happened is he never called me with the results of the blood tests. And she said, well, that's because there was probably nothing wrong with them. Because if there were, he would have gotten a hold of you.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, for $5,000, the least you can do is, you know, have your assistant dial the phone for you. Anyway.
Yes and no.
So she talks to this doctor, this neurologist, and he pulls up my medical record of this test. And he goes, oh, well, he says, that test goes up and down, but I would take another one immediately. I would get a hold of your neurologist and have him order up another one. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, will this never end?
No.
You know, will this never end? Because all these doctors, all they're practicing is defensive medicine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And I could have multiple myeloma, and then again, I could not. I don't have any symptoms, you know? So, I mean, what is this? You know, why can't I have one doctor just say, oh, let's take it easy here. You know, oh, go get another one immediately. Well, I already had this cancer and blood guy look at it, and he said, oh, well, that was nothing. I guess one of those numbers that goes up and down, you know. Well, but it just and then it threw me off the whole day. I was just really pissed about that.
Yeah.
And
I had blood work drawn last week for a series of things, and the urologist said, I've got your PSA number in there, but don't let them do it while you're actively on antibiotics. for prostatitis. It's okay.
Wait a minute.
Told them not to do it. They did it anyhow. And my PSA came back in my normal range, 0.06.
0.06? That's very good.
Very good. Yeah, it's normal. It's only been higher one time. Went to 3.2, which is still good, but a big.
Did you have an infection?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's it.
That's that's why the urologist said, tell him not to do it. I'm getting over an infection now. I've been on antibiotics for almost 60 days. Prostates are hard to penetrate with stuff. So anyhow, so yeah.
Yeah. So, ask Phil. He'll beg to differ with you. They managed to get to his.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but it just annoys me. I mean, it and I just went, I'm not going to call my doctor and order up another test, and then he's going to tell me, well, did you go see the other doctor with the cancer in the blood? Yes, I did, you jerk. You sent me there. And then this guy, charges Medicare $5,000. He never got that. He got like $1,200, but $5,000, and I mean, he can't even call me. Come on, what's that all about? And that's
it's about it's time to find another doctor.
That's the doctor you recommended. But then again, my what do you call it? My regular doctor, my GP or whatever you want to call him. Also, when he saw that there was some kind of problem with something, and he said, "Oh yeah, you should go see the this guy," and it was the same people. So I had two doctors who recommended him. These people must be going around because they're a big company, all right? Big, beautiful offices and everything. They must go to doctors all over town and pay them for the recommendation. Just recommend us, because I can't see why any sane human being would put up with this organization. So that kind of gets to me after a while, I'm tired of it. I want to go on a vacation soon, and even though I'm a little lightheaded and I don't walk as good as I used to and things like that, I'm sorry, I want to go on that vacation, and I don't want to take some kind of test where they go, oh, you better stay here and we better test this and then we better test that and then you got to test this and you got to test. I just want to go on a goddamn vacation, leave me the hell alone. And if I drop dead tomorrow because I didn't get enough tests taken, so be it, but at least I'll have a nice vacation.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, and I took a walk today, and it was a lot more difficult today than usual. I don't know why. Huh? No, it wasn't hot here.
For me, it was hot.
It was windy here, windy and cold. Yeah,
I know this in the morning.
We've had unseasonably cold weather. I'm not trying to rub that in, Charlie. We've had unseasonably cold weather here.
I know.
There has not been a day. There's only been 2 days where it has gone above 80. Most of the time, it's between, in the mid 70s. And this is in July. This is in June.
Really?
Should be nicer. Should be a hell of a lot nicer. So, anyway, but so anybody seen any good TV shows? No.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got a bunch, but you don't like them.
What?
I have a bunch of shows I like.
Well, like what? Like what?
Well, I love these Korean dramas that I've been watching on Netflix.
Oh, I'm not saying that they're terrible. I mean, I don't watch them. I mean, I watched, what do you call it? The Squid Games.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, the South Koreans are doing some good work lately.
Yeah.
So it's what shows are you talking about? What can you give us an example?
Well, it was the Attorney Woo. What was it? The Amazing Attorney Woo or whatever. Can't remember. That was a couple of months ago.
Attorney Woo.
There's another one called Crash Course in Romance I just finished. That was great.
Really?
Fell in love with the female star.
You're probably seeing these on Netflix, right? Because Netflix has all those South Korean stuff. I got to tell you, Have you seen this series that Barack Obama's doing on people who work? Working. I can't remember. I think it's called Work, and what he's done. It's 4 episodes. Years ago, a guy by the name of Studs Terkel wrote a book called Working, and what he did was he did stories about people who worked and people in the lower classes, and Obama decided to do essentially the same thing, except at every level. He starts off with the base worker, who makes minimum wage and doesn't make a lot of money and has to make ends meet in the worst sort of way. And then he goes to the next level, which is like a supervisorial area in which people have enough money so they can maybe buy a house and they can have a car and they can have a vacation once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I haven't seen the next episode, but that's going to be about people who are in professional jobs. And then the top are going to be CEOs, the last episode. And it's fascinating, and he's doing a great job of it. And he's talking about the history of the classes. And he said the great thing about America, the most patriotic thing about America is the establishment of a middle class. Because before the United States, you went to a place like England and you had what? The upper class and you had the lower class. There was no middle class. And that it's purely an American invention and a good one. If it works, and he says today it's very hard to be in middle class. You can be anywhere from $50,000 a year to $250,000 a year. And there's a great difference between those things.
No shit.
But it's a very good series. If you get a chance, watch it. And I've been watching, what is it, Black Mirror? You know the show Black Mirror?
No.
Oh, you really? This has been on for about 5 seasons. This is the 6th season, and the stories are really great. It's like kind of describe it as a new age Twilight Zone, and all of the stories have to do with something weird, but you can't figure out exactly where it's going. And this season has been exceptionally good. We just finished watching the last one tonight. But that's a show I would...
Was it the Twilight Zone where William Shatner was on an airplane
Yeah.
out the window and some monster was eating the engine or something?
Yeah, well, you can't see it on television, but I saw it on the big screen. They actually showed it once in a theater. And if you look closely, the monster on the wing of the plane is wearing tennis shoes.
No way, really?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's Donald Trump's father.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, but I mean, this is
wearing sneakers. Wow.
This is a very good show. I'm trying to remember exactly what the it's called. Dark. Is it called Dark Mirror? I think that's what it's called. Dark. And then Mirror.
Well, I'm hooked on Poker Face on Peacock TV.
Oh yeah, that's very good.
Yep.
It's very good. Dark Mirror. Yeah. There we go. It's Dark Mirror, and I would suggest it very highly. Okay. It's got 6 seasons, so if you really like it, you got a real treat in for yourself. And the first couple of seasons had to all do with technology. There was technology melded into it. This time it was a little different that way, but anyway, so that's some of the things we've been watching.
Got a text from the Weather Channel that the Texas grid, because of the heat wave, is at 102%. They're expecting it to crash. At least you won't freeze, Charlie. This sucks. This sucks.
Well, you got to remember
with the politics there and the.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, your governor did something about making sure that there was no way that you would were having anything to do with any other state to supply you with electricity.
That's right. They're not on the grid.
They're not on the national grid.
Exactly what it is.
And so now if their grid goes out, their grid goes out. That's
At
it.
least I won't freeze to death.
Huh? Yeah.
Well, you won't freeze this week.
Yeah, at least I won't freeze to death this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'll
Texas.
send you one of those little fans like the little Asian ladies do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Texas it can get pretty damn hot down there. Believe me, I know those days. I know the year or so that how long was I in Houston? 2 years in Houston. And
Really?
boy, I'm telling you, 11 months out of the year, it was humid.
Yeah.
Just terrible. Just terrible. But but that's not as bad. Have you ever been to Vegas? How many of you have been to Vegas?
Yeah, but it's not humid in Vegas. It's just
Yes,
hot.
it is. Yes, it
Really?
is. Oh,
It's
yeah.
I've
humid.
never been there.
Yeah, there are times when it gets humid, but it gets hot.
Yeah.
And you know what I
Does
read
get
about?
hot.
Remember, we sent all those troops over to Iraq,
Yeah.
and then they would say, "Well, it was 130 today,"
Yeah.
and these guys are like wearing their outfits with all their gear on and everything, and I'm going, "Why aren't they just collapsing?" I couldn't take that heat. Could you?
No.
Impossible. So let's try and come up with an answer to that one. I just don't understand how we survived over there. But
Me either.
yeah. So, well, let's see here. Let me go to Drudge. Let's see what Drudge has got as a headline. When life is sends you. Let me see here. Hold on a second. There we go. Lost at sea. Titanic claims lives of 5 more. That's his headline.
Oh,
Navy knew days ago. Okay.
blaming Titanic for that, huh?
Yeah.
I could think of 5 people in the Republican Party, including Trump, that I would have liked to have seen on that thing, on Titan. The guy that's lying through his teeth from New York, Santos. Child molester.
Well, Santos finally admitted, because the press found out, who paid his
Put
bail.
up the bond.
Put up the
Yeah.
bond, and it was his father and his brother, I think.
Father and uncle,
Uncle? Yeah.
or aunt, or something like that.
No, it wasn't an aunt. But, I mean, it was, he didn't want to do it. And I kind of have to agree with the reason he didn't want to do it. The reason he didn't want to say it is he didn't want them to get bugged about it,
Or threatened.
Or threatened. Yeah.
No.
But,
What's the child molester in the Congress, in the Senate? Not Senate.
what child molester?
Matt Gates.
Oh, Matt
He would have
Gates.
been- He would have been another one to be good on the thing.
You know something? Matt Gates, I don't think they're ever going to go after him.
He's got more credibility than Santos.
Well, come on. I've had things that have been floated in my toilet that have better credibility than Santos, for crying out loud.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
There was a plaque that somebody sent me, and it says Congressman something Santos, and on the bottom of this brass plaque it says, "If that's your real name." It was like outside his office. It was cute.
And what's happening out in your neck of the woods, Kevin? Anything?
No, not really. Pretty quiet.
Yeah? Yeah, you got a daughter who graduated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So now what's she doing with her life? Is she going to spend the summer just taking it easy, or is she working, or what?
Taking it easy, and then we're waiting to see if she's going to Italy for pre-freshman class.
For pre-freshman class. Wait a minute. Goes to Italy for where's she going to school?
Yeah, she's on a list to go to Italy for a month for her arts and technology major.
who pays for
It's to
this?
go there for a month. She'll go there in July to August
Mhm.
and get to earn like 7 to 10 credits before
Who
she even
pays
starts
for
school.
this?
And how much is this going to cost, and who's paying for it?
Right?
A lot.
Guess who?
Just adds another 10 grand onto the tuition.
I don't know where parents these days get the money to send their kids to college.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, how
You
much?
borrow it and spend the next 40 years paying it off.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it might be there's an occasional president who tries to forgive the loan, but
Let's
the
just say
Republicans will
Yeah.
always prevent that from
Let's say
happening.
I started saving when I started working when I was 15 years old. So.
That's the smart approach.
You started saving for a kid to go to college?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
As soon as I
And if
started
you didn't have a
working,
kid, you could have a hell of a vacation.
Well, first of all, you had to figure somebody. You had to assume that somebody would want to marry you. Okay, that's first of all. Then you have the kid.
That
then
leaves
maybe
me
the-
out.
maybe
Actually,
the
for
kid-
me when I started,
Maybe the kid doesn't want to go to college. You know, I mean, the
I
whole,
have two of them that just went to community college, so it was
there
easy
is a whole new theory now that unless you absolutely need it, don't go to college. It's an unnecessary expense. You know,
Tell me about
if you're somebody who's like, a kid who's got a rock band, why should you go to college? Pursue your dream, pursue your talent. Also, I mean, there are a lot of jobs now. I mean, like, for instance, radio. I didn't have a college education. I went to City College
Well,
of San
You
Francisco.
could do that before, but unless it's changed, I mean, when we wanted to hire a janitor, we needed a degree.
Yeah, but if
You
I were sitting at a radio station and I were hiring radio personalities, I don't think that I would ask them how much college education they had.
No, not that time.
But even now I would say how good a show do you do?
I became a manager, and they didn't ask for it. But I became a manager of a distribution center that handled hazardous materials and had to deal with permits and EPA and everything else. And they never asked me for a degree.
but those are things.
When they listed my job afterwards, you had to have a minimum of a degree.
But those are things you could learn on the job, are they not?
Absolutely, I did.
Yeah. I mean,
You
but
get somebody to take you under their wing, and they show you the ropes, and all of a sudden you're doing
but
it.
why should people have to spend the fortunes they do on colleges?
I agree.
And when they could probably, if they're going into a certain profession, they want to do it. Like I've often felt,
It has to do with pay. They can hold that over your head for pay.
okay, well here's
Pretty much what it is.
here's one
They
of
can
the
say, you know what? You can be making 150 grand, but you don't have a degree, so we're going to give you 75.
Well, I've
That's
suggested
pretty much what it is.
I suggested something a long time ago, and everybody assailed me for it. And that was, I felt, hey, if you're going to be a lawyer or you're going to be a doctor, there should be trade schools for that,
Sure.
right? Why do you have to go through a complete, college English courses and things like that in order to get 4 years later to a point where you can go to medical school? Why not
You
go to
can go to
medical
trade
school
school.
immediately?
You go to-
Yeah, you need
As a matter
to
of fact-
understand biology and microbiology.
No,
to
but
go
you
to-
can teach that in the trade school.
probably
you
As a
can
could.
matter
make
of
that-
fact, what's nice about the high school that my daughter went to, they do that. When you're a freshman, they start you on a path, and they say, "You going to trade school or you going to college? Do you want to learn a trade, or you want to?" And they had certain ways you had to go, and you had to sign basically a contract that says, "I'm going to go this way or that way," and she chose to go the college direction, and a couple of her friends decided they were going to trade school. You sign the contract and you stay on that path. If you don't want to, if you change that path somewhere like in your sophomore year, you have to exit out of it and interview your way out of it and then change the path, which is really good because it keeps you going one way or the other.
Yeah.
It gets you on the right path to go where you want to go. And I know kids that now just graduated and they are welders, and we have a big agriculture here, and FFA, the Future Farmers of America, and all that. These
Right.
guys are going into the technology part of farming and stuff like that now, and they've got all that under their belt before they even get into college. So they just go to a community college for a couple of years, and they can walk out and get a job and run a laser tractor across a field without even sitting in it, and the tractor does it all, and they know how to program it and everything else.
Well, I think
they actually have laser tractors that zap weeds going across.
Yeah, that's the latest thing.
That's very cool.
The farmers don't even have to go out into the field now to pull
You
weeds.
just drive a tractor, and the tractor has a camera that detects the weed in a strawberry patch.
Laser zaps it.
Yeah, lasers. They're very cool.
The guy just sits there and watches it go back and forth.
Yep.
So they give the field workers other stuff to do.
Well, all I'm saying is that when I said that they should go to trade schools, what I was saying basically is that you go to a school that teaches you how to be a doctor. I mean, what is being a doctor than a trade? What is being a lawyer but a trade? But
well,
no,
I think that's where they're going now, because I think it's MPC, Monterey Peninsula College, and the other one down here in the Monterey area, not Cabrillo, but the other one. Those are basically schools that you decide what trade you want to go into, and you can learn all that stuff in those community colleges. It's a lot less than going to a big university.
But what would you say if your kid told you, "I've decided I'm not going to college. I'm going to be an influencer"?
Well, if she can make money doing it, go for it.
Yeah, but how many people can make money off of being an influencer?
Hey, these kids know how to do that stuff. They know how to figure it out. If they can figure it out,
technology is different than when we were kids.
Big time. Big time.
Well, no, absolutely technology.
She knows how to, she's going to start sell stuff in Santa Cruz this weekend. She's an entrepreneur. She's been working for 3 weeks now, making stuff in her room, and now she's going to take it out like her mom does and go to a boutique or whatever it is. It's called the So-So Market, and she's going to sell a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, well, but that's practical. That's not like being an influencer.
Yeah, but that's just, she's doing that on her own, and that's what she's going into is art and technology, and that's just the bottom of the line. She's starting to, do that stuff, and then when she goes to college, she's going to start learning how to do the big time stuff with graphic arts and that sort of thing, so that she can go to, say, for instance, Nike and say, hey, I'm going to design tennis shoes for this athlete.
Yeah.
And make $10,000 a shoe.
That would be nice. Then she could afford to
pay me back
pay
for
you,
college.
dad and mom for putting her through college.
Yeah, that's exactly what we told her.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still, I mean, I think about what would it be like if I had to start in the business today. And number one, there is no business. So what would I decide to do? Because I want to be a performer.
There is business. You just have to be with the time. That's all. You have to know what you're going after.
I suppose I'd be doing a podcast, but I'd be ultimately more successful at it because as a younger person, I'd know the paradigms for making it work.
Yes.
Okay. Where I'm having a problem dealing with how do I make this thing more popular? And
I think about that a lot, Alex, with you, and I think about that a lot. And I was just farting around with podcasts the other day, and somebody told me about this podcast with Will Arnett and Sean Hayes and who is it? Oh, Jason Bateman. They have a podcast called Smartless, and I said, "What the hell? I'm going to listen to it." And it's not too bad, but those are 3 guys that never had a podcast. They've got sponsors. They've got all this crap
because they got names.
And they got names. Yeah. It's like,
I mean, the small. Believe it or not, for the most part, the small people have been pushed out of podcasting.
Yeah.
Okay. By Rachel Maddow doing one, and somebody over at CNN doing one. You know. So I mean,
why can't you do something like that? You just got to get some people behind.
Because I'm 83 years old and I forgot how to.
You can do it. You just got to find the right people to push you into it.
Anyway, hey, listen, good talking to you, Kevin, as always, and good talking to you, Charlie. Don't let the weather get you because it's going to get worse. Don't worry before it gets better.
Your governor says so.
At what temperature do you decide not to play softball?
Never.
Oh, they don't. It's just rain.
What a wicked sport that is.
Play softball.
If it's only in the rain. I mean, if it could be 120 degrees, we'll be out there playing softball.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
they're kinda
I like your moxie. I hate moxie. Anyway, thank you so much, Jeff. Good having you here. What does your T-shirt say quickly?
Yeah.
All I need is, and then I can't see below that.
Okay. I'll...
Jeans and a T-shirt. Okay. Good. Anyway, everybody, have a really nice night, okay? And give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a wave goodbye at you. There they go, folks. That's our citizen panel. And they'll be back, hopefully be back again tomorrow with a lot of other people as well. In the meantime, you stay tuned for Jack Bishop. He's next over most of this GabNet, and he will be taking your calls on Skype at GabNet Live. I'm Alex Bennett, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Night, everybody.